Quite a while since I've made bagels, but I've had the urge to do it lately, so I'm going to give it a try today and thought I would show you how I go about it, I guess. Unfortunately, I won't be able to put a link to the recipe below because this is sort of a combination of 2 or 3 cookbooks that I have. I've made bagels over the years, and this is the method that I've discovered that I like the best. So I'll just give you an idea of what we've got here for ingredients. It's a ½ ounce of the yeast, and I'm using still that instant yeast. That would be 2 of those little packets, 1/4 ounce packets, if you're using the regular, I guess the common brand name is Fleischmann's. 2½ teaspoons of sea salt, 6 cups of flour, and 2½ cups of water, into which I have put 2 teaspoons of barley malt. And this is actually, full disclosure, first time I've ever used barley malt. It's always called for in most bagel recipes. This will be the sweetener that the yeast will work on. And also when you kettle or boil the bagels before they are baked, you put 3 tablespoons of this in the water. You don't have to have it, obviously, to make bagels, because I've made them for years, and this is the first time I ever found barley malt to use. You could use honey or molasses or just plain sugar. Any sweetener would do, but barley malt is the one that is traditionally used with bagel making. And then when they are ready to go in the oven, some toppings, sesame seeds and poppy seeds. I like both, so I will do both, more than likely, half and half. I'm going to attempt this in the stand mixer. If the dough is too heavy, I will finish it by hand, but I don't know if I've ever made them in the stand mixer before, so meet you at the mixer. Well, that's about 5 of the 6 cups of flour. I don't like to put it all in because you never know if you're going to need it all or not, so I will add the yeast on one side and the salt on the other. Also, if you were doing this with the regular small packets of Fleischmann's yeast, you would sort of prove the yeast first in a little sugar and water. It isn't necessary with this instant yeast, so I don't do that. Now, if I can reach the gizmo here to raise the bowl up, I'll mix those ingredients together a bit. Now I'll add the liquid, the 2½ cups of water and the 2 teaspoons of the barley malt. I just scraped down the sides. I haven't added any more flour yet, and I don't think I mentioned earlier, I am using a bread flour. Bagels are much better if made with a high gluten flour, like bread flour. So keep pushing this in from the side, I guess. Well, I'll bring you back when I think I might have to add more. I'm sure I'm going to, but I'll let this mix for a few minutes. It is forming a soft dough, but definitely needs more of the flour, so I'll still reserve back about ½ a cup. And I'll bring you back once that has mixed into the dough. Well, it has incorporated all of that, but it's still too soft for a bagel dough, so I will add the remainder here. Bring you back once it's got that all worked in. That's more like it. It needed the full 6 cups. And I will now let it knead slowly for 10 minutes. And I'll bring you back at that point. 10 minutes seems to produce a pretty good dough. Bounces back when you press on it. And it's now in a bowl that I have lightly oiled with olive oil, a bowl that has a plastic cover, which is a good addition. You don't have to use plastic wrap all the time. And it will sit at room temperature now for an hour to an hour and a half until it has doubled in bulk. I'll bring you back then. The dough has been rising for about an hour and 15 minutes or so. I actually could have stopped the process a bit earlier, but I was busy doing something else. Now I'm just going to knock it down. I will knead it for a bit on a floured surface, but first I want to weigh it. The weight depends on how many bagels I want to make, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. So, we have about 1,450 grams. I will do some math and let you know shortly what I'm going to do for the number of bagels, but right now I'm going to lightly flour the surface here and knead it for a minute or two, and I'll bring you back after that. What I haven't mentioned is I have the oven preheated to 425 degrees. I'm going to be doing these on a pizza stone, so they won't all go in the oven at the same time. You can do them just as easily on a baking sheet covered with parchment paper or something. Makes much less cleanup, but I'm going to try them on a pizza stone. I've done that many times in the past. And I also have 3 quarts of water in a saucepan boiling with 2 tablespoons of the barley malt in it. And I'm going to attempt to get 15 or 16 out of this, I guess. I'm never terribly accurate, that's why I like to use scales. Add a little, I'll add a little. What I'm doing now is just making it into half and then cutting each piece in half and carrying on that way until I have 16 pieces. I've got 4 now, so. One more division after I cut these 4 up will make the 16. Bring you back and show you what they weigh like. You don't need to be as fussy as I am about the size and weight. I just like to have things come out equal. And for 16 bagels, they should weigh roughly 90 grams apiece. I have weighed that one. That is 90 grams. And now what you're doing is you're just on a board that has no flour, because this won't work on a floured board. You take each piece and make it into a round like that. Once you've got all 16 of them into a round, you cover them with a towel or whatever, and they rest for 10 minutes. I'll bring you back at that point. Well, I got 16. The last one is a little light by a few grams, but that doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter, period. They can all be a little bit different size if you want, but I have the scale, so I might as well use them. 10 minutes they rest, and then we come back and shape them. Well, they've had their rest. There are several ways of shaping a bagel. Sometimes I have no luck with the professional way, but we'll give it a try today. We roll it into a log, and these are going to be fairly large bagels, so I like to put a large hole in the center because they do rise some more, and even after I do that, sometimes the hole heals over, so to speak. I don't have a hole. You just wrap it around your hand like that, and if the dough is sticky enough, that will join it together. Not necessarily the same size as it should have been, but just play around with it. And that is roughly a bagel. The other way of doing it is you just take one of the little dough balls that you've made and you just keep going down into the center and stretching it out into a bagel shape. It does tend to heel over more this way, in my opinion anyway, but you can roll it with your hands to get it large enough. I said I'm going to do these on a pizza stone. It doesn't really matter if they touch each other on the pizza stone, I don't mind, but I will try to do half of them, 8 each time in 2 batches. Next we kettle them, so I'll show you that process. I don't think I mentioned that the bagels should rest for about 10 minutes after you have shaped them. And they're going into the boiling water with the barley malt in it. Encourage them to come up off the bottom before they stick. You're not cooking them. This is just a process to, well, it makes it so you don't have to have a steam injected oven. Bagels aren't cooked in a steam injected oven. But it's also what makes the bagel that nice shiny color. So it's basically about 30 seconds aside. That's all that you need. And when they come out, and drain them. This first batch is going to be sesame seeds. I plop them in the sesame seeds to get some sesame seeds on one side. The second batch I'll do with the poppy seeds. I don't think you can quite see what I'm doing over here, can you? No. I'll do 4 more this way, and then I'll see if hopefully they'll all fit on the pizza stone in the oven. Bring you back and show you what they look like in the oven. The battery died as I was putting them in the oven, so I have the camera running on a cord now. But anyway, they've just gone in. They bake at 425 for 15 to 20 minutes. I'll show you what they look like when I get them out of there. Well, the first batch is out of the oven, and here goes the second batch with poppy seeds. They've been sitting on this peel for a bit, so I guess they're going to release it. I was giving myself an excuse in case they didn't slide off the peel. I just sort of spaced them out a little bit better. And there you go, 20 minutes and they'll come out of the oven. See what I mean by sometimes the holes heal over? The second batch had a chance to proof longer, so they raised up more than the first batch when they went in. They had to wait the 20 minutes for the first batch to come out. They're still, that one there's got a hole. Hole or no hole, they still taste very good. Now the hard part, I have to wait 20 minutes or so for them to cool so I can slice one and toast it. Also, this couple of the first batch, they started to come apart where I had, the dough needed to be a bit wetter. If it was a little bit wetter dough, they would have sealed together better. I would have been better off doing the thing that I showed you where you just punch a hole in it and stretch it out that way. But again, it doesn't really make any difference. It doesn't change the flavor in the least, and I love these things. So I'll see you in the dining room as soon as I get one cooled so I can toast it. Everything seems to remind me of a story now. Years ago when I was working, years before I retired actually, we had a summer student work with us for a number of years, university student. She was a lot of fun. I made these one day and took them into work, and not meaning anything about her race or religion or however you want to put it, I just made them because I like bagels. She was Jewish, and that had completely slipped my mind. And everybody was out in the other room outside of my office enjoying their bagels. And all of a sudden she came in my office and she said, "If you tell my grandmother, I'll have to kill you. But these are better than the ones my grandmother makes." I've never forgot that. I think that's probably the best compliment my bagels could ever get. This is a little toasted, a little too darkly, but here it goes. Oh yeah. Very good. That's one of the sesame seed ones. You can really taste the sesame seed. Just have cream cheese on it. I like to have Lux, bagel and Lux, cream cheese and smoked salmon. My favorite, but unfortunately I don't have any smoked salmon. Well, if you haven't made bagels before, I would suggest that you give it a try. It's a little bit time consuming, but You know, nothing too terribly difficult about it. And thank you very much for watching.